Welcome, esteemed gentlemen. Power is not in dominating others, but in mastering yourself. This is the unshakable mantra of the Sigma male, a rare breed who operates outside traditional hierarchies, immune to societal games and petty intimidation tactics. In a world where flexing dominance and puffing egos are the norm, trying to intimidate a Sigma male is like bringing a rubber sword to a chess match, misguided, ineffective, and frankly, a little embarrassing. The truth is, Sigmas don't play by the same rules as everyone else, and that's what makes them so dangerously unpredictable. According to psychologists, individuals who exhibit Sigma-like traits often rely on self-reliance and introspection, traits that make them immune to manipulation. So, why does every attempt to intimidate a Sigma male end in spectacular failure? Because the very foundation of intimidation crumbles when faced with someone who simply doesn't care. Add a sharp wit and a quiet, unyielding resolve, and you're left trying to outmaneuver a phantom who's 2 steps ahead. Spoiler alert, it doesn't end well for the intimidator. Number 1. They don't respond to authority for authority's sake. Sigma males don't respond to authority just because it exists. They reject the idea that power automatically deserves respect. For them, authority must be earned through competence, integrity, and intelligence, not a title, uniform, or raised voice. This mindset makes traditional intimidation tactics, which often rely on asserting status, completely ineffective. You can't intimidate someone who fundamentally questions why they should care about your position in the first place. What sets Sigma males apart is their laser focus on substance over surface. If a person in power is bluffing, insecure, or hiding incompetence behind their authority, a Sigma will spot it immediately. They don't fear the person giving orders. They assess the logic and validity of the orders themselves. This means a threatening tone, a display of dominance, or an inflated sense of self will do nothing but amuse them. It's not defiance for the sake of rebellion. It's simply an unwillingness to submit to power without reason. Ironically, this attitude tends to expose the fragility of those trying to intimidate. Authority figures who rely on fear or status often crumble when their tactics fail to impress. A Sigma's calm disregard for such power plays acts as a mirror, reflecting the weakness of those who lean too heavily on their titles. They don't have to argue, raise their voice, or fight back. Their quiet indifference alone is enough to unnerve anyone who's used to controlling others through intimidation. Ultimately, Sigmas don't seek conflict, but they also won't back down when challenged. They're not here to overthrow authority. They just refuse to kneel to it blindly. It's this unshakable self-possession that makes intimidation not just ineffective, but a guaranteed way to backfire. At number 2, they view fear as a tool, not a threat. Fear is often seen as a weakness, a force that paralyzes or controls, but for Sigma males, fear is nothing more than a tool. They experience fear like anyone else, but the key difference is their response. Instead of letting it dominate or define them, they dissect it, understand it, and use it to their advantage. Fear becomes a signal, not a shackle, a nudge that sharpens their instincts and pushes them to act with precision. When faced with a situation designed to intimidate, a Sigma male doesn't crumble under pressure. Instead, fear heightens their awareness. It fuels their ability to analyze the risks, weigh the consequences, and make razor-sharp decisions. They don't panic or overreact, they adapt. Where others might see fear as a wall, Sigmas see it as a doorway, one they're determined to walk through with purpose. This approach often catches intimidators off guard. Fear-based tactics are designed to provoke irrational reactions, but Sigmas turn the tables by remaining calm and deliberate. Their ability to maintain composure under stress disarms aggressors who expect fear to create weakness. Instead, they find themselves up against someone whose focus has only sharpened in the face of adversity. Sigmas also recognize that fear can be a teacher. They reflect on what causes their fears and use those insights to grow stronger, more prepared, and less susceptible in the future. In this way, fear becomes a resource, a motivator that propels them toward greater self-mastery. By embracing fear as a tool rather than a threat, Sigma males transform what could be a vulnerability into one of their greatest strengths. It's not that they're fearless. It's that they've mastered the art of turning fear into fuel, leaving their intimidators powerless and often bewildered. Number 3. Intimidation only fuels their analytical nature. Intimidation attempts often rely on triggering emotional reactions, fear, anger, or insecurity. But with Sigma males, this strategy is doomed from the start. They don't respond with knee-jerk emotions, they respond with calculation. Every attempt to intimidate them is treated as data, something to be analyzed and understood. For a Sigma, your threatening words or posturing aren't scary, they're clues. Sigma males have an uncanny ability to break down situations with surgical precision. They'll ask themselves, why are you trying to intimidate me? What do you want? What's your next move? While others might get flustered or defensive, Sigmas remain composed, mentally dissecting your behavior to uncover your true motives. To them, intimidation is less about fear and more about understanding the power dynamics at play. What makes this so effective is that Sigma males don't just analyze, they anticipate. Like a chess master studying an opponent's strategy, they're always thinking several moves ahead. If you raise your voice to intimidate, they'll notice the tension in your body language and the desperation behind your words. If you try to assert dominance, they'll quickly identify whether you're bluffing or compensating for a deeper insecurity. This ability to read between the lines means they often know what you're going to do before you do. And here's the twist. They don't always act immediately. Sometimes they'll let you think your intimidation tactics are working, all the while planning their next calculated response. This approach doesn't just neutralize intimidation, it flips the power dynamic entirely. The more you try to dominate a Sigma male, the more you feed their analytical edge, and the more control you ultimately lose. In the end, you're not intimidating them, you're handing them the keys to outmaneuver you. At number 4, their calmness can be disarming. Intimidation thrives on eliciting a reaction. Anger, fear, defensiveness. It's a game of emotional leverage where the goal is to rattle the other person. But Sigma males are impossible to rattle. Their calmness isn't an act, it's an extension of their deep self-assurance. When faced with aggression or threats, they remain grounded, as if the storm swirling around them doesn't exist. This unshakable calm isn't just a shield, it's a weapon that disarms even the most forceful intimidators. What makes their calmness so effective is how unnatural it feels to the aggressor. When someone attempts intimidation, they expect resistance or submission. A calm, unbothered response creates an eerie sense of imbalance. It's as if the Sigma male is silently asking, "Is that all you've got?" without saying a word. This lack of visible fear or anger forces the intimidator to confront their own insecurities. After all, intimidation is often a projection of internal weakness, and when that projection fails to land, it leaves the aggressor exposed. Sigma males also know how to use silence to amplify their calm demeanor. They don't rush to defend themselves, retaliate, or explain. Instead, their stillness speaks volumes. It says, "I'm in control here, not you." This quiet confidence can be far more unnerving than any loud comeback because it forces the intimidator to grapple with their lack of influence. This composure isn't about arrogance, it's about mastery. Sigma males don't let external chaos dictate their internal state. Their ability to remain calm in the face of intimidation not only nullifies the attack, but often leaves the aggressor questioning their own strength. In the end, the calm isn't just disarming, it's a reminder of who truly holds the power in the interaction. Number 5. They thrive on mental challenges. For Sigma males, intimidation isn't a roadblock, it's a riddle waiting to be solved. They don't react with fear or anger when someone tries to impose dominance. Instead, they engage their sharp, analytical minds. To them, the situation becomes a mental challenge, something to decode, strategize around, and ultimately dismantle. It's not about avoiding conflict, it's about approaching it on their terms, where logic and precision reign supreme. What sets Sigma males apart is their ability to stay detached from the emotional chaos that intimidation is designed to create. They don't see threats as personal attacks, but as opportunities to test their own intellect. If someone raises their voice or postures aggressively, a Sigma's first instinct isn't to cower or retaliate, it's to ask, what's really going on here? What's the game being played, and how do I win it? This mindset turns the tables almost instantly. Most intimidators rely on fear as their main weapon, but fear doesn't cloud a Sigma male's judgment, it sharpens it. They enjoy dissecting the power dynamics at play, understanding the motivations behind the intimidation, and identifying the weaknesses in their aggressor's strategy. This approach often leaves the intimidator confused and frustrated because their tactics don't provoke the expected reaction. Even more unsettling for aggressors is the Sigma's ability to anticipate and counter moves with ease. They might play along for a while, letting the aggressor believe they have the upper hand, only to reveal later that they were 10 steps ahead the entire time. It's a quiet, intellectual domination that leaves no room for the intimidator to recover. In the end, intimidation backfires because it becomes a game the Sigma male is not only willing to play, but exceptionally skilled at winning. To them, the challenge isn't something to fear, it's something to conquer. Number 6. They master the art of psychological detachment. Sigma males possess an extraordinary ability to detach emotionally from intense situations, turning what could be a source of stress into an advantage. For them, intimidation tactics are transparent and ultimately futile because they view them not as genuine threats but as desperate attempts at control. This psychological detachment is not a lack of emotion. It's the deliberate choice to rise above it when faced with manipulation or aggression. Intimidation relies on emotional hooks, fear, anger, or insecurity to destabilize the target. But a Sigma male's mind works differently. When someone tries to intimidate them, they don't feel the need to prove themselves or respond in kind. Instead, they step back, observe, and assess the situation with almost clinical detachment. They focus on the why behind the behavior rather than reacting to the what. This perspective allows them to remain calm, calculated, and in control, no matter how volatile the environment becomes. This detachment often leaves intimidators floundering. The lack of an emotional reaction denies them the power they seek. A raised voice, a threatening posture, or even subtle manipulation tactics bounce off a Sigma male like pebbles against armor. What's more, this unflappable calm exposes the aggressor's underlying insecurity. After all, intimidation is often rooted in an attempt to mask one's own weaknesses. But this ability to detach goes deeper than mere nonchalance. It's a product of self-awareness and mental discipline. Sigma males understand their own emotions and are highly skilled at regulating them. They know when to engage and when to let go. To them, staying emotionally untethered is not just a defense mechanism, it's a strategy for maintaining power in any situation. In the face of psychological detachment, intimidation loses its sting. It's hard to control someone who refuses to play the emotional game. Number 7. They weaponize silence and ambiguity. Silence is often underestimated, but for Sigma males, it's a strategic weapon. When confronted with intimidation, they don't waste energy on loud retorts or defensive explanations. Instead, they employ silence and ambiguity with surgical precision, using it to unsettle and disarm their aggressors. Their non-reaction becomes the loudest statement in the room, creating an aura of mystery and control that leaves others second-guessing their every move. This silence isn't passive, it's calculated. While most people feel compelled to fill awkward gaps with words, Sigma males embrace the pause. They understand that silence forces their opponents to confront their own discomfort, often exposing underlying insecurities. Aggressors thrive on emotional feedback, but when met with nothing but calm, blank stares or measured silence, they're left floundering, unsure whether their tactics have landed or backfired entirely. Ambiguity amplifies the effect. A Sigma male doesn't explain themselves or clarify their intentions unless it serves their purpose. Their lack of explicit response creates a psychological vacuum, compelling others to project their own fears and assumptions onto the situation. Intimidators in particular often find themselves overthinking, misreading the silence as defiance, contempt, or an unfathomable strategy. In reality, the Sigma male might simply be observing, conserving energy, or waiting for the right moment to strike. This mastery of silence and ambiguity shifts the power dynamic. It places the Sigma male in control of the narrative without uttering a single word. Intimidators who rely on provoking reactions to assert dominance find themselves destabilized and unsure how to proceed. In the end, silence becomes more than just a defense mechanism. It's a psychological offensive. By refusing to engage on the aggressor's terms, Sigma males turn intimidation into an act of self-destruction, leaving their opponents trapped in a maze of their own doubts. Number 8, they weaponize vulnerability strategically. For Sigma males, vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strategy. They understand that appearing to yield or concede in a moment of conflict can be far more powerful than immediate resistance. By giving the illusion of submission, they lull aggressors into a false sense of security, all while quietly setting the stage to turn the situation in their favor. It's the mental equivalent of playing possum, making the opponent believe they've won, only to strike when the time is right. This calculated use of vulnerability disarms intimidators who thrive on immediate victories. When someone feels they've gained the upper hand, their guard drops, and their moves become predictable. A Sigma male patiently observes this shift, gathering valuable information about their opponent's motives and weaknesses. It's not about losing the battle, it's about positioning to win the war. Aggressors often mistake this tactic as actual weakness, which is exactly what the Sigma male wants. They know that pride can blind a person, causing them to overextend or underestimate the situation. By strategically stepping back, they give the intimidator just enough rope to hang themselves. It's a subtle but devastating psychological maneuver that leaves their opponents scrambling once the tide turns. This approach also allows Sigma males to conserve energy and avoid unnecessary confrontations. They don't feel the need to prove their strength in every skirmish because they operate with a long-term perspective. To them, vulnerability isn't about surrender, it's about control. By choosing when to appear weak, they dictate the pace and flow of the conflict, ensuring that the ultimate outcome serves their goals. In the end, what seemed like a concession was actually a carefully orchestrated move, leaving their opponent baffled and overpowered. For Sigma males, weaponizing vulnerability isn't just clever, it's an art form. Number 9. Their self-worth doesn't rely on external validation. Sigma males are the embodiment of self-reliance, and this is perhaps their most impenetrable defense against intimidation. While most people derive their self-worth from external sources, praise, recognition, approval, Sigma males stand apart. Their confidence is rooted in who they are, not in how others perceive them. This internal validation makes them impervious to the tactics designed to undermine self-esteem. When someone attempts to intimidate a Sigma male, they quickly realize there's nothing to attack. There's no fragile ego to chip away at, no insecurity to exploit, and no desperate need for validation to manipulate. This lack of dependence on external approval is the root of their quiet power. Intimidation thrives on the ability to make someone doubt themselves, to provoke a reaction based on insecurity or fear of rejection. But a Sigma male is unaffected by these tactics. When challenged, they don't feel the urge to prove themselves or seek external validation to restore their sense of self. They already know their worth, and no amount of pressure can sway that. What makes this even more frustrating for those trying to intimidate them is how visible this indifference is. A Sigma male's unshakable confidence often leaves others grasping for a reaction, trying to figure out how to get a rise out of them. But because the Sigma isn't playing the validation game, the aggressor's tactics fall flat. There's no weakness to expose, no chink in the armor. The aggressor's power to control the narrative simply disappears. In the end, intimidation backfires because it has no target. Sigma males operate from a place of inner strength that can't be shaken by external pressures, making them virtually untouchable by any form of psychological manipulation. They don't need anyone's approval to feel strong, which is exactly why attempts to intimidate them fail so spectacularly. Number 10. They read people like open books. Sigma males possess a rare ability to read people with uncanny precision, often understanding their intentions and emotional states before a single word is even spoken. This skill goes far beyond simply picking up on words or surface-level behavior. They have a knack for noticing the smallest body language shifts, tone changes, and micro-expressions that others might overlook. These subtle cues give them an insight into the true motivations of those around them, especially when someone is trying to intimidate them. When faced with an attempt at intimidation, Sigma males are quick to pick up on the telltale signs of bluffing, fear, or insecurity in their aggressor. The slight twitch of a hand, the rigidity in posture, or the shift in someone's voice all speak volumes to a Sigma male who has learned to decode these signals. While the intimidator might be trying to project dominance, the Sigma sees through the facade instantly. They understand that intimidation isn't an expression of true power, but often a mask for self-doubt, overcompensation, or an attempt to control a situation they don't fully understand. This ability to perceive and process these cues allows Sigma males to stay one step ahead. Instead of reacting emotionally or defensively, they are able to assess the situation and the aggressor's true vulnerabilities. A person who is bluffing about their power or using intimidation as a crutch might feel confident in the moment, but a Sigma male will quickly recognize it for what it is. And when the Sigma male calls them out, often without even saying a word, the game is already over. By reading people with surgical precision, Sigma males neutralize intimidation before it even has a chance to take root. They don't need to react because they've already seen through the entire strategy, and in doing so, they regain control of the interaction. It's not just a matter of strength. It's a matter of seeing the world and others through a lens of keen observation, turning intimidation into a misstep rather than a weapon. In the end, attempting to intimidate a Sigma male is not only a futile effort, but a lesson in misunderstanding the nature of true strength. Their power lies not in force, but in the mastery of themselves, their emotions, reactions, and perceptions, whether through silence, strategic vulnerability, or simply a razor-sharp understanding of human behavior. They turn intimidation tactics into a game they're always destined to win. They remain unmoved by ego-based challenges because their sense of self is forged from within, not shaped by external validation or approval. What intimidators fail to recognize is that Sigma males don't view the world through the lens of dominance and submission. They see it as a chessboard where intellect, emotional control, and strategic thinking reign supreme. Their calmness, detached analysis, and unshakable confidence not only neutralize aggression, but expose its hollowness. The more someone tries to provoke them, the more they reveal their own weaknesses, leaving them trapped in a cycle of frustration and failure. So, the next time someone tries to intimidate a Sigma male, they should remember this. Intimidation isn't just about power. It's about knowing when to play, when to step back, and when to quietly dominate the game from the shadows. Because in the end, the Sigma male isn't just unbothered by intimidation, they thrive on it, turning each failed attempt into a chance to show just how untouchable they truly are. If you found these insights into the Sigma male mind as fascinating as we do, make sure to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on more deep dives into what makes these unique individuals tick, and how you can harness the same strategies to level up your own life. Stay tuned, because the more you learn, the more you'll understand the power of truly mastering yourself. Don't just watch, join the community, and let's explore the world of exceptional minds together.